What if the most powerful tool for energy, mental clarity, and stress wasn't meditation, but breathing hard for 10 minutes and then standing under a cold shower? That's not a wellness influencer claim. That's the result of a brand new trial just published in Scientific Reports that followed 404 people for 29 days and put the Wim Hof Method head-to-head against guided mindfulness meditation. And the results are genuinely surprising, not just because Wim Hof won, but because of how it won. The benefits didn't fade, they compounded. Day after day, they got bigger. So today we're going to unpack exactly what these researchers measured, what's actually happening in your body when you do this, where the real risks are, and yes, the simple at-home version you can try safely starting tomorrow. Hey everyone, and welcome back. If you've spent any time in the wellness corner of the internet, you've probably seen Wim Hof, the Dutchman in shorts climbing mountains, sitting in ice, telling everyone they can do it too. For years, the science on his method has been a mixed bag, lots of enthusiastic testimonials, a few small studies. One famous 2014 paper showing trained practitioners could voluntarily suppress their immune response, something textbooks said was impossible. But also a lot of skepticism, and honestly, justified skepticism. So when a team at the University of Queensland, led by Dr. Jemma King, ran the largest controlled trial of the method to date, 404 healthy adults, 29 days, 3 groups, wearables, executive function tests, daily check-ins, a lot of us in the evidence-based corner of health were paying close attention. Here's what they found, what it means, and what it doesn't mean. Let's start with how this study was built, because the design matters. The researchers recruited 404 healthy adults, 226 women, 177 men, average age around 37. They split them into 3 arms. Group 1 did the Wim Hof Method in person, the breathing protocol plus cold exposure, with some sessions including ice baths. Group 2 did the exact same Wim Hof protocol, but remotely, guided by app or video on their own. And Group 3, they did 15 minutes of guided mindfulness meditation. That third group is the key. Mindfulness isn't a weak comparison. It's the gold standard, doctor-recommended, insurance-covered, evidence-backed stress intervention. If you're going to test breathwork and cold against something, you test it against that. Every participant did their assigned practice daily for 29 days. They wore devices that tracked sleep, heart rate, and recovery. They took executive function tests. And after every single session, they reported how they felt: energy, mental clarity, ability to handle stress. So this isn't one snapshot. It's roughly 12,000 data points per outcome. That's what makes the results interesting. Here's the headline: both Wim Hof groups, in person and remote, produced significantly greater momentary improvements in self-reported energy, mental clarity, and the ability to handle stress than the meditation group, after each daily session, across the board. And before anyone says, well, of course people feel energized after a cold shower, that's part of the point. The researchers weren't measuring some abstract trait, they were measuring the lived experience of doing the practice day after day. But the more interesting finding, in my view, is the shape of the curve over time. Most wellness interventions show diminishing returns. You get the biggest bump in week 1, and then your nervous system kind of shrugs. Meditation in this study followed that pattern. Benefits showed up, then plateaued. Wim Hof did something different. The benefits compounded. Each day's boost was, on average, slightly bigger than the day before. Over 29 days, that adds up. The researchers also picked up a physiological signal. Respiratory rate dropped progressively across the month in the Wim Hof groups, which suggests a real adaptation in the autonomic nervous system, not just a temporary high. Here's a detail that doesn't get enough attention. The in-person group and the remote group performed comparably. That's a big deal. It means the active ingredient isn't Wim Hof himself, isn't the charisma of an instructor, isn't the group energy of doing it together in a room. The active ingredient is the protocol, the breathing, and the cold. You can do this from your bathroom with a free app or YouTube video, and based on this trial, you'll get most of the benefit. There's also a workplace finding worth mentioning. Participants reported improved psychological safety at work, feeling more comfortable speaking up, raising concerns, addressing problems. That's not a direct effect of cold water on your vocal cords. It's likely a downstream effect of feeling less reactive to stress in general. Let's talk mechanism, because this is where a lot of the popular explanations get it wrong. The most common version you'll hear is, you're flooding your body with oxygen. That's not quite right. Here's what actually happens. You take 30 to 40 fast, deep breaths. That hyperventilation phase blows off CO2, your blood becomes more alkaline. Then you exhale and you hold your breath on empty lungs. By the third round, your blood oxygen saturation can drop to around 45%. For context, in any clinical setting, that number would set off every alarm in the building. But here it's transient and voluntary, and your body responds by releasing a huge surge of norepinephrine, one of your main alertness and stress response hormones. So the benefit isn't more oxygen, it's the opposite. It's controlled, intermittent low oxygen plus a hormonal surge that appears to train your nervous system to tolerate and recover from stress more efficiently. The cold exposure layers on top of that, activating brown fat, boosting catecholamines again, and giving you that unmistakable post-cold shower clarity. This is also why this is physiologically distinct from box breathing, slow nasal breathing, or pranayama. Those are calming practices. Wim Hof is a stress practice. You're deliberately stressing the system so it adapts. Now we have to talk about safety, because this is where the method has a real and serious dark side. At least 13 deaths have been documented in connection with Wim Hof breathing, and almost all of them share one factor: the person did the breathing in or near water. Here's why that's so dangerous. When you hyperventilate and hold your breath, you can pass out without warning. It's called shallow water blackout. On land, you slump over and wake up confused. In a pool or bathtub, you drown. So rule number 1 before anything else: do the breathing seated or lying down on a soft surface, away from water. Not in the shower, not in the bath, not in a pool, not the night before in the ocean. Seated on land every time. There's a second risk to flag. There's data suggesting that for healthy young people, the baseline chance of an arrhythmia during cold water immersion is around 1 to 3%. If you hold your breath beforehand, that jumps to roughly 63%. Most of those arrhythmias are brief and self-resolving, but it's why you separate the breathing from the cold. Do the breathing, recover, then take the cold shower. Don't combine breath holds with submerging your face. And there's a group of people who should talk to a doctor first or skip this entirely. If you're pregnant, have a history of seizures, uncontrolled high blood pressure, a cardiac arrhythmia, long QT syndrome, panic disorder, or you're on QT prolonging medications, that includes some antidepressants, antipsychotics, and antibiotics, this isn't the protocol for you without medical guidance. Also worth saying, a 2026 trial in people with spinal cord injuries didn't show mental health benefits, and a 2024 systematic review found the overall evidence base is still heterogeneous. This big new study is encouraging, but it's not a verdict that the method works for every person and every condition. With all of that on the table, here's the version most viewers can try. The total time is about 15 minutes. Step 1, sit or lie down somewhere comfortable, far from any water. Step 2, the breathing, 3 rounds. In each round, take 30 deep breaths, full inhale through the nose or mouth, relaxed exhale, fairly quick pace. After 30, exhale and hold your breath on empty lungs for as long as is comfortable. When you need to breathe, take a big inhale and hold that for 15 seconds, then start the next round, 3 rounds total. Step 3, recover for a couple of minutes, notice how you feel. Step 4, take a cold shower. Start with 15 to 30 seconds of cold at the end of your normal warm shower. Over a few weeks, work up to 1 to 2 minutes. You do not need an ice bath. The study found robust energy, clarity, and stress benefits from breathing plus daily cold showers. Ice baths are optional, and they carry more risk for marginal additional benefit. And one habit worth borrowing from the research: rate your energy, clarity, and stress 1 to 10 before and after each session. The 404-person study showed those subjective shifts are reliable and measurable, and tracking them keeps you honest about whether it's actually working for you. So how should we think about all of this? A few honest takeaways. 1. This is the strongest evidence yet that the Wim Hof method produces real, measurable, day-to-day improvements in how people feel: energy, clarity, stress capacity. 2. It appears to do this by training the autonomic nervous system, not by oxygenating you. The mechanism is intermittent controlled stress, not relaxation. 3. It outperformed mindfulness meditation in this specific trial, on these specific outcomes in healthy adults. That doesn't mean meditation is useless. Meditation has decades of evidence behind it for anxiety, depression, attention, and long-term emotional regulation. It means breathwork plus cold may be a better tool for the specific job of getting an immediate, compounding boost in daily energy and stress tolerance. And 4, the benefits grew over 29 days. That's the most actionable finding in the whole paper. Whatever this is doing, it gets stronger with consistency. So if you try it for 3 days and quit, you're missing the point. The study's whole story is about what happens when you keep showing up. Here's where I land. The new Queensland trial doesn't prove Wim Hof is a miracle. It doesn't prove cold plunges cure anything. But it is the most rigorous evidence we've had that this strange-looking combination of fast breathing and cold water produces real, measurable, growing improvements in how people feel, and that it does so better than the standard meditation comparison. It's accessible, it's free, it works remotely, and the simple version takes about 15 minutes a day. If you decide to try it, please do it safely, seated away from water, separate the breathing from the cold, build the cold gradually. And if you've got any of the medical conditions we talked about, check with your doctor first. If this was useful, hit subscribe. We go deep on studies like this every week, separating what the science actually shows from what the headlines claim. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.